Hey, here's a question that nobody's ever asked before. Is it possible to beat Trackmania Nations Forever if all the tracks were turned into ice? It's a weird question, but hear me out, as I promise it has a very interesting answer. You see, much like in real life, when you drive on ice in Trackmania, the car is way harder to control. The acceleration is worse and your grip is non-existent. Pair that with 65 tracks full of obstacles, boosters, and jumps, and yeah, you got yourself one of the most difficult challenges in all of Trackmania. And a few months ago, I decided to try to become the first player to beat it. Here's how it went. Before we begin, I'm getting ever closer to 1 million subscribers, so if you enjoyed this video, then be sure to hit the button. And now, let's get into it. The very first track in the campaign is AO1 Race. And despite the change of surface, it really didn't pose any problems at all, and I managed to get through it very quickly. If that took us 3 minutes and there's 65 maps, this is gonna take us like 3 hours, easy. Little did I know then that this was gonna take a lot more than 3 hours. My innocent confidence would later come back to haunt me, as I'd soon be faced with some of the toughest tracks I'd ever played. But we'll get to that part later. For now, how do you actually drive as fast as possible on ice? If you try to drive the car as one normally would, you'll find that it is awfully slow and near impossible to control the car. So instead, Trackmania players use a trick called ice sliding. Ice sliding is one of the most wicked Trackmania techniques, and here's how it works. First, you steer the car into a sideways position, and then by counter-steering, you'll go into a drift while building up speed. The best part is that you also have some control over the car's sliding angle. By tapping brake in an ice slide, the car will steer more, and by releasing the acceleration, you can return the car to a normal position. Using this trick, ice becomes kind of enjoyable. It's difficult to learn, but fun and rewarding to master. With ice slides in place, I managed to beat the entire White series, the first 15 tracks in the game, in a little under 3 hours. The tracks themselves were not that difficult to finish, and I spent most of the time grinding to beat the author medal target times, which were set by some of the best ice players in the game. This should be it. Let's go! It took a lot of grinding, but we got it. After that, I was on to the Green series, where I would be faced with my first proper puzzle, B06 Obstacle. This track is characterized by jumps between platforms, and because of the car's reduced acceleration on ice, the very first jump on the track seemed impossible to clear. Going straight at it was not even close to making it. Gathering a bit of speed behind the start and then jumping also didn't work. My third idea was to start an ice slide just before the jump, but it turned out to be just as unfruitful. I was taken aback by how difficult this one jump turned out to be, and I scoured the start for ideas for generating speed. And finally, I found one with big potential, though it was absolutely stupid. By dropping the car's right back wheel off the start platform, I could start an ice slide immediately as it climbed back up again, and instantly accelerate faster. But that in and of itself wasn't enough. I also needed a rare speed boost that would happen as the car climbed. If I got that, I just had to line up for the jump and pray that it was enough speed. And like, look, any idea you guys suggest, seriously, any idea, I know it's coming from a good place. It's that like, oh, but streamer, I can help you. Wait. But I'm good, thank you. Okay, let's go! Oh, we did it! Let's go! Relieved to have beaten B06, I continued playing that night for another 30 minutes, and got all the way to B12 race, where I considered myself done for the day. 26 out of the 65 tracks completed. The next day, I got back to grinding, and I cruised through the rest of the green tracks without many issues. But when I got to the blue series, I noticed that the difficulty had clearly ramped up a notch. The track CO4 race looked daunting. as there was a big discrepancy between the author time and the records on the leaderboards. And the reason why was the final jump on the map. When driving on platforms, you could usually reach around 400 speed for this jump, but on ice you could only reach 250 speed. As a result, in order to make it to the finish platform, the only possible way was to bounce on this sign. Now let's get at the back. It would have bounced off, but that's so close. Yes! Let's go! We got it! Just like that. It's done. 5th. Whew, that was a tough one. Once I was finally done with CO4, the next maps went pretty effortlessly. But as I loaded onto the track C13 race, I noticed there was only one player on the leaderboards. Medicine, who is one of the very best ice players. And I knew I was in for a real test of skill. C13 has a big jump in the middle of the map, where you need to build up a lot of speed to clear it. In the blindfolded project, this was one of the main hurdles that I had to clear in order to beat the challenge. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And on ice, it turns out to be rather difficult as well. Even great ice slides that I cancelled at the right time to pick up all the boosters were still a few meters shy of lining up on the platform. But there was a trick I could use to potentially make it easier. By hitting the wall with my front wheels in just the right way, the car would correct itself back to a straight line after the ice slide without me needing to release the acceleration as much, effectively carrying more speed. That's it. That's it. I made it. I did it. I saw it instantly. That was such a good angle. Let's go! Nice. After only 20 minutes of trying that night, I became the 3rd player to ever complete the track. Another day in the books, 43 out of 65 tracks completed. But I knew that with each bit of progress I made, I would get closer and closer to the real nasty beasts. D11 Acrobatic was brutally difficult, and the track EO4 Obstacle hadn't yet been finished by anyone, and those who had tried it said it was impossible. As the next day started, I was breezing through the red tracks and quickly approaching D11, the map I had worried about for the first 2 days. After climbing up the ice sculpture on D09 Obstacle and skipping the engine off blocks on D10 Race, D11 was the track up next. The reason this map was considered one of the hardest is simple. You had to land 2 extremely difficult jumps back to back. On the original D11, you are able to release the acceleration mid-air to slow down the car in preparation for the landing. But for whatever reason, if you jump from an ice block, you cannot slow down the car mid-air. So you are hurling towards the block at a much higher speed. And to add insult to injury, the landing area is of course 10 times more slippery. There was simply no way of landing the jump normally, so I had to get creative. The most promising option looked like slowing down the car just enough before the jump, so that it would clip the front of the platform when landing. This would cause the car to bounce up and hopefully land on the platform afterwards without sliding off. Then of course you'd have to rinse repeat for the finished platform. It was a long shot, but really it was the best that I got, so I stuck with it and gave it my best effort. Oh? Oh! That's perfect! Okay. Slow down, slow down. There's no way! Okay, let's go! That did not take long at all. I got absurdly lucky here, as this should have taken a lot longer, but I cannot complain. Out of the blue, I managed to get a run that beat D11 Acrobatic after only 11 minutes of playing it. But having gotten past it, the rest of the red tracks went quickly as well, and I soon found myself at 60 out of 65 tracks beaten. Just 5 tracks left, which was EO1 through EO5. the first 3 of which were not that eventful. EO1 Obstacle required a big reroute of checkpoints, but it wasn't that hard to complete. EO2 Endurance is a long track, but with 13 hours of ice experience, it was a comfortable playthrough. And EO3 Endurance took me just 2 attempts.
Track limit stink dog. Lap time delighted.
7:05! Easy, we got there. 2 tracks remaining in the entire campaign. If I could beat them, I would successfully complete the mission of doing Trackmania Nations Forever on ice. And as the final track seemed somewhat easy, the challenge now really came down to just one brutally difficult map, EO4 Obstacle. As I mentioned earlier, nobody had finished it yet, and those who tried it claimed it to be impossible. The problem on EO4 Obstacle is the checkpoint inside the hut at the top of the map, where now in the ice version, the jump that one would traditionally use to reach it didn't get you remotely close. And since that checkpoint is at the highest point of the map, there weren't really a lot of possible routes to reach it. Now, I remember a shortcut that Fastest Way Only tried on the map, where we had an alternative to getting up there. So this is something we tried 3 years ago on the real EO4, which is that with a lot of speed, you could maybe bounce on this sign to fly up to the checkpoint. If you get the checkpoint this way, you could probably beat the map. It looks too far. It looks way too far. Like, you would need 50 more speed or something to get it. And that's not even like a smooth downhill, won't get you that. As I was theory crafting, I was reminded of an obscure trick that exists in Trackmania, which you would never use in normal gameplay for any purposes, but which for this challenge could perhaps be perfect. A trick that the player Dragon PNTM had discovered on accident, the Dragon Yeet. So there are maps that are checkpointless, for example, where the finishes are way too high, or 1-up, right? And what Dragon does to complete all these maps is he goes outside the stadium, builds up, look, 1,000 speed, jumps with this ledge, and then he starts a bug slide here to yeet, bounce on the glass, and fly into the stadium. If you do this on EO4, just imagine the angle, right? There is a chance, but it's very marginal. That's like the only one I see. I'd never tried a Dragon Yeet before, and I had no idea how difficult it was. So I went on a practice map to try it out. It really seemed like it could be a viable way to beat EO4, but one problem was how long it would take to set up. While on the practice map, I would respawn over and over again without any success. For the trick to work, you had to build up over 950 speed outside the stadium, which would take over a minute of driving in circles just for a single attempt at the jump. Another thing was that there was no way of predicting where the car would fly once you got the yeet. On EO4, you would just have to pray it was the exact angle needed to land up near the top checkpoint, either on the long platform bridge or on the roof above it. The one thing I had going for me is that the setup was skill-based. It required precision and timing to get the car in the correct angle. In order to get a Dragon Yeet, you had to do the following. First, reach between 950 and 970 speed. Then, tap brake and steer just as the car hits the ramp. Countersteer mid-air to stop the car's rotation, and once you land, start holding forwards, steering and brake to get a bug slide that would fling you onto the glass to bounce into the stadium. The more precise I could get at executing those inputs, the more yeets I would get, at least in theory. It felt like absolute madness to drive for a minute just to try it once, where seemingly nothing would happen. But if I wanted to complete the challenge, I really didn't have any other option, so I stuck with it. And soon enough, I got my first glimpse of glory. Oh! Oh my god, okay, so that didn't get the bounce, but if you get the bounce on the glass, there's a chance you can get it there. Okay, that was only attempt 8, and we got our first fling. That's the first fling. If that Dragon Yeet had bounced on the glass, I could have been done with EO4 Obstacle after only 8 attempts. I kept trying the trick throughout the day, and 5 hours later, I ended my live stream with no success. Out of 200 attempts that day, I got about 10 successful dragon meets, which was not a great outlook for beating the map. I wanted to get more consistent, so the second day, I continued with more practice, and my attempts did get a lot better. Oh, go, 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 go! Make it! No! No! Please! Oh, no, dude. Oh, go! This is it. No, dude. I don't want to look. I don't want to open my eyes. I do not want to look at this. To put into perspective what playing this map is like, imagine this. You drive in circles over and over again for many hours. With each attempt at the jump, you're hopeful that something happens. Come on, you've done so many laps. This surely has got to be the one. But no. Time and time again, nothing happens. So you climb back up on the bridge, do another lap, and keep trying. You try the exact same setup you've done in practice, and still, the car does nothing. But if you keep trying it enough times, something has got to give. Trackmania is a deterministic game, and there isn't much randomness. It's about precision. So you remain patient, and you wait for that one attempt where the car will eventually fly. And let me tell you, the feeling you get when you see that car finally flying with the correct angle towards the stadium is incredible. Your heart rate spikes, you gasp for air. This is it. In your head, you're thinking you're already done with it. The 13 hours of driving in circles could all finally pay off. And then the horror hits you, as you look at the car's rotation and realize it's in an awkward position to land. You see your speed is too high, but it's too late to slow down now. But maybe you might still make it. You might. Playing this map is an emotional roller coaster, and it's crushing when you allow yourself to believe that this attempt could be the one. Because as soon as the car drops off that block, you know it's right back to the grind. Back to driving in circles and waiting for a miracle. It's crushing. But as fate would have it, later that day I got another chance. As I did the bug slide, my car once again soared towards the stadium with the correct angle. And I had a chance at redemption. Guys, we have a problem. There's no way to unturtle here. I have to go for the gap. Upside down and hope I can get the checkpoint. There's no way. Okay, I'm gonna go back for speed. I'm just gonna take a moment to collect myself. But there's no way to unflip the car on this platform. The best I can hope for is crossing the gap and sliding upside down into the checkpoint. You see that gap right there? That's what we gotta get across. There might also be some merit to trying to hit the wall as I'm going across. But I think the best play is just YOLOing for the checkpoint. So, well, whichever way this goes, holy shit, we're gonna try. I'm going now. Oh my god, that's close! Alright, let's check. Is their default movement? No. It's pulling us away. You see that? It's going that way. We're over 16 hours in. We started playing this map at 16 hours, we're at 32. And we're literally here. So yeah. There my car was after 16 hours of trying. Less than a block away from reaching the checkpoint, where I could have safely respawned and beaten the map. But that attempt just wasn't meant to be. This map was consuming me, and I honestly struggled focusing on anything else. I had to beat it, and I knew I could do it too. At this point, it didn't matter to me if it would take 10 more attempts or 10,000. I was determined. Whenever you are chasing a goal, setbacks and mistakes will happen. But the way I see it, you only really fail when you decide to give up. If you haven't given up, you haven't yet failed. And I was not going to fail to this map. I was going to beat it no matter what. I knew it was just a matter of time before something would happen. On average. So there's one. Oh wait. Oh wait. Oh fuck all of you, we did it! Oh my god, we did it! We did it, guys, we did it! It's done! I did the jump, it's done! It's actually done! Oh my god!
Dude.
You were here, chat, you were here! It took over 20 hours, 21 hours, but it's done, it's done, it's done, it's done, it's done. This is the victory lap. We just gotta get the rings. We just gotta respawn.
Welcome to the vibe.
We go here. And then we just drop down. And it's done.
This guy Sigma is, dude.
Congrats, pull a big Wirtual.
This guy Sigma is fucked, dude.
While here.
Oh, let's go. 21 hours and 800 drag need attempts after I started, I finally beat EO4 obstacle. I ended my stream that night feeling overjoyed, knowing that I would beat the challenge. There was still one map left, but completing it wouldn't be nearly as difficult. The final track in the challenge, EO5 obstacle, is 60 laps long, and would have an estimated runtime of 3 to 4 hours. And I started driving it the next day. When playing it, all 60 laps just felt like victory laps, celebrating the achievement of overcoming all the tough maps up until this point. And after 41 hours, I can finally say with confidence that yes, Trackmania Nations Forever is beatable if all the tracks are made of ice. But in order to do it, you need to push your determination to its absolute limit. It's one of the hardest challenges I've beaten, but having done it, I'm so glad that I dared to try, and I wish anyone else who attempts it the best of luck. If you enjoyed this video, then subscribe so you don't miss any Trackmania videos like it in the future. Also, a big thanks to my patrons for your support. It really means a lot to me. That's all for now, guys. I will see you all in the next video, and until then, have a good one.